Which are the results that you would remark from the almost 18-month project duration?
Well, the project started very well, already producing very encouraging results. From this first period, I believe the most interesting results come from the work packages in the scientific discipline of reproduction and genetics. We have planned work in all the six species of the project, and in most of them we have significant breakthroughs. For example, in the meager, we have developed an optimized method for obtaining eggs of high quality on demand using GnRH injections. This method can produce up to 17 weekly spawns if the fish are conditioned to constant temperature. In the same species, a very wide genetic study looking at the genetic variability of broodstocks from various research organizations and commercial organizations from countries as wide as Cyprus, Turkey, Greece, Italy, France and Spain has confirmed that the available genetic pool is wide enough and appropriate for the development of genetic selection programs for the improvement of these farm fish. It's feed conversion efficiency, growth rate, flesh quality, etc., whatever the genetic managers will decide to select for. In terms of the greater amberjack in the Mediterranean stocks, we have successfully controlled maturation and spawning in stocks maintained exclusively in sea cages in Greece, and obtained fertilized eggs from breeders spawning in the cage, as well as from breeders transferred for spawning to land-based tanks. In the Atlantic Ocean stock, excellent results in terms of reproduction were obtained from one of our stocks in the Canary Islands, producing large numbers of eggs for the whole summer period. The eggs produced from these first trials were used successfully for the experiments in the work packages of the scientific discipline larval rearing, obtaining the first results on the husbandry and nutritional requirements of these very promising species during the early rearing stages.
Which are the main difficulties encountered so far in the experimental work?
Thankfully, not so many difficulties have been faced so far in the project, given its very large size and number of participants. However, we did face a significant issue with the complete mortality of the greater amberjack broodstock that was acquired at the beginning of the project in order to study the annual reproductive cycle in captivity. This stock of 45 wild-caught fish was acquired from a source in Greece and was transferred at the beginning of the project to a commercial SME partner in Italy. Unfortunately, a few weeks after the transfer, the stock suffered a parasite infection which resulted in killing every single fish. We tried to replace this stock from the wild fishery, but at the end this was not possible. We solved, however, this issue through the help of another SME partner of the consortium, who contributed some of its additional greater amberjack breeders that he had on stock. As a result, the implementation of this task was moved from Italy to Greece, where this SME partner is located, and the samplings were carried out successfully between April and July 2015. Another important difficulty was also caused by a heavy mortality, this time in larval pike perch. The cause of this mortality was that the recirculating aquaculture system facilities of the partner responsible were very new. In fact, they were just commissioned in the early 2014, and therefore the biofilters were not yet conditioned to accept a large biomass. The problem has been solved by repeating this task at a later time when the biofilters were well conditioned, and this caused us a delay in the reporting time of the deliverable. Other than that, no other significant problems have been encountered.
What type of feedback did you get from the aquaculture research sector, from industry and the consumers?
So far we had the opportunity to present our project and its early starting work to a variety of events and audiences. For example, the European Aquaculture Society's annual meeting in Donostia, Spain, or a presentation that was given in the headquarters of the Hellenic Center for Marine Research on marine research developments in the Mediterranean Sea. This was a presentation given to a number of international journalists covering the work done in the Mediterranean Sea. And in addition, our website has been very active at presenting the objectives, organization, and expected outcomes of the project. So far, we have been getting very encouraging feedback from the people that become aware of the project, as of course everybody realizes its significant potential at expanding the European aquaculture industry with the inclusion of these new species.
Which are the main conclusions of the socio-economic work during this first year?
As you know, Diversify has a very strong socio-economic component. In fact, almost 20% of the total research budget was allocated to socio-economics work. This work includes studies on the micro environment where aquaculture needs to operate, studies on the available certification schemes, the attitude of large wholesalers as well as consumers towards fisheries and aquaculture products. It includes studies on the organoleptic and nutritional analysis of the 6 species included in Diversify, as well as the development of new value-added products from these new fish. So far, the macro environment has been described and the relevant deliverables have already been submitted to the European Commission. In terms of the consumers, the first analysis of the consumer survey have been completed and showed that there are 3 segments of consumers that can be identified in all the 5 countries where these studies were taking place, which includes the UK, Germany, France, and Italy. The first category that was identified includes, it was named traditional consumers, which constitute 30% of the population. These are consumers who know relatively more about fish and buy usually traditional fish products. The second classification we named involved innovators, and they constitute 36% of the population. And these are people who know relatively more about fish, but who also have a more open mind towards buying new fish products. And the last category we call ambiguous indifferent consumers, and they constitute about 35% of the total. And these are consumers who know relatively less about fish and who are less prone to buy new fish products. So based on these findings from these very extensive studies, more than 1/3 of the consumers in the 5 selected countries belong to the segment of involved innovators and could therefore potentially be open to buy products from new species. So such information, of course, is very essential for the targeting of any marketing campaigns that can be developed for the new products that will come out from the 6 Diversify species.
Where is the focus of the planned work for the next year of the project?
Well, in the coming years, more work is planned in the area of reproduction and genetics, but given the success of the first year in this area and the production of large numbers of viable eggs, we will now begin to focus more heavily in the other scientific disciplines that rely on reproduction, which is larval rearing and nutrition. It is still early on in the project for the grow-out experiments. This will happen later in the project, although some tasks have already started with the grey mullet and meager. Work in fish pathology is continuing, as is work in the area of new product development. In this area specifically, we have already completed the consumer-based development of a list of ideas for new products, as well as a consumer evaluation of the organoleptics and acceptance of all 6 species. So now we will begin the development of new value-added products.